p.m. out in the Pacific Mountains of Oregon. The moon has risen about at 9 o'clock, about a half hour ago. It's 9:31 p.m., maybe 9:32. And that's the glow of the sun back there. The glow of the sun dipping below the horizon. The sunset was at about 9 o'clock as well, I think, maybe a little bit before. I looked these things up before I turned the camera on, but then I think I promptly forgot them. I should have written them down, but I didn't because I was in a hurry. The moon has risen up about that far above the horizon, but it is being obscured by a tree. I'll just show you. A big tree there has obscured the moonrise, and maybe if I zoom in, we might be able to see where, yeah, the moon is risen. It is risen indeed. The moon has risen. It has risen indeed. I sound like a pagan now, don't I? But then again, that's what most Protestants think of Catholics. They thought for years and years that Catholics are just pagans with the shroud of Christianity, with a veneer of Christianity layered over the edge. That Catholicism is paganism with a thin veneer of Christianity wrapped around the organization with all the saints, the statues, the great big buildings, the ritual language, and all the rest. But you know, the funny thing is, I've never once heard one Protestant. What is that in the sky over there? One Protestant. Welcome, Barry. Welcome. Like the kitten. I don't know what that means. I haven't heard of one Protestant ever talk about orthodoxy, like Russian Orthodox or, well, sir, the moon is rising, and that's the last of the sun over there, and we're just kind of here hanging out right before dark, waiting. You can if you want to, but you may not like the rest of my content, Barry. Welcome. Jesus is King. Welcome. Cream Snot. Welcome. Welcome to, it is a nice hat, isn't it? Welcome to Moonrise. All right. Well, thank you. I do a lot of talk on this show. It's mostly when I'm not doing interviews and I'm doing other stuff. Sometimes I do art, and other times, like I think I did tarot art over the weekend. And we talked about caregiving with Alexis Milner. And so this is a talk show. It's mostly talk, and it's got some other action and so forth. And so tonight I'm just shooting the breeze. This is completely unscripted. Unscripted, raw conversations and entertainment and all that. But anyways, looking behind me, and I am in the coastal mountains of Oregon. I'm in the coastal mountains of Oregon, and what you see behind me is what's last of the sun. The sun has already set at Lincoln City or at Pacific City or at Tillamook or at Florence or at Newport or at Seaside or at Astoria or I'm at the 45th parallel at that place. You go down into California, it's already set already. But nevertheless, welcome, Mr. Lopez. Welcome. Welcome to moonrise in the last rays of sun.
Where's Pee-wee?
Pee-wee should be in the house.
No.
I don't, hold on a second. My dog has disappeared. All right. All right, yeah, okay, good. So the dog disappeared for a bit, but was found. It's just a little dog, and with all the hawks and stuff in this area, the owls, an owl can swoop down from that big tree over there, because owls live in that tree, and pick up a little small 9-pound dog. Very easy to do. I watched a hawk come down and pick up a squirrel. It just swooped it up into the air and dropped it. And then it came down and ate it. That was like last year. You know, so we got them, hawks, and this makes it with a flashlight here, it makes it seem like I'm sitting around a campfire or something. Anyways. Find the doggo. Well, we found the doggo. I caregive for my mother who's getting close to 90, and so that's kind of my principal job and so forth. But nevertheless, you don't need to hear that. But you know, as I said, this is raw, unscripted talk. And the moon, oh wait, let me turn the camera around. You can see the moon. Moon peeking through the trees. Let me just expand that out a bit. We're looking for it moonrise night day. Tomorrow is a full moon. Full moon tomorrow. I don't know what that means, Mr. Lopez. And I feel like I'm going to be set up for something here. That's what it feels like. I feel like this might be a Bart Simpson moment. But I did say Mr. Lopez, and I winked. But what the hell does that mean? You're taking advantage of an old man, aren't you? Yeah, that's right. The moon is rising again. It's 95% full today. Tomorrow, it will be 100% full. No setup. All right, Mr. Lopez. If I don't know how to pronounce your first name, my audio processing disorder made it very difficult to say words that I've never heard before. But anyways, the moon is rising. It's rising fast. I'm at the edge of a Wi-Fi zone. I was gonna plug in Porfirio. Okay, thank you, Porfirio Lopez. Welcome. Let's see, what have we got tonight? Well, what you got is that I am on the in an Imitrex wave. And Imitrex is a migraine medication, which I took right before I went out on the camera here. And Imitrex is so it's like a It works specifically on migraine symptoms. It doesn't make you high or anything, but migraines do they F up with your brain and so forth, and skipping, whatever. It does lots of things. Usually, like when I used to go, when I was working in a casino as a bartender, and I had lots of migraines. Porfirio, I'm in the coastal mountains, not on the western edge. The western slope of the Cascades is I'm gonna say that it's like 70 miles away from where I'm living, where this location is. Yeah, but I play boring ones. I play boring video games like Keno slots, word games. There's one I usually play them for, I don't know, I play them until I get bored with them and then I stop. But the Keno slots, I like the Keno slots. Those are the games I like the best, but I don't play other video games. The approximate elevation is where I'm at is probably I think it's like 800 feet. 800 feet. 800, yeah, and it gets higher, and then it gets lower. So yeah, it goes up. I'm up. Yeah, about 800 feet. And then I think that in the highest part of the coastal mountains, I think it's a little bit higher than that. Not too much. It's like maybe 1,000 feet above sea level. Maybe at this location. There's other locations along the Oregon coast where the mountains are higher than they are here. And like for instance, just over there, just that way, are coastal mountains that are a lot higher than where I am at. Some of those are, yeah. Yes, there is quite a bit of fire risk. The about in 2020, there was a wildfire that was just less than 10 miles away from this valley that I'm living in, but it was like up. There's several peaks to weave through to get to the coast, and so you're weaving through them, and so there was a in September 2020, about 10 miles in the direction that, well, actually 10 miles that way, I'm sitting in a northwestern direction, and so if I were to go exactly like pretty due west of where I was at, about 10 miles, there was a wildfire in Otis and Rose Lodge, Oregon. And then, but the biggest damage part of that was that the fire leveled an entire village, a village of people who were living in like RVs and mobile homes and so forth. And so the fumes, the air was as toxic for like almost a week. Yeah, it was about a week. And then in the western edge of the Cascades, Mr. Lopez, where about 70, 80 miles from here, there were parts of two whole towns that were just burned down to the ground in the Santiam Pass. So you're looking at, well, actually, yeah, about east of Salem. Salem is the state capital, and so east of Salem, about a while. So a ways east of Salem, going up to Santiam, and Santiam going up to Detroit, then up to the peak of the Cascades, and then coming down. So on the western side of the Cascades, there was a major wildfire that burned maybe parts of 2 or 3 towns, just leveled them down, like Lyons and some other ones. So yeah, there is wildfire risk here. So we didn't have no fireworks for didn't do much in the realm of fireworks. I had some neighbors that did fireworks for the 4th of July, but generally I have some neighbors that buy big fireworks and they'll light them off. But now they just do fireworks on New Year's, where there's like zero risk of burning the valley down. But yeah, things have been really dry since April. Yeah, since April. And so it's like, what, July 8th, and generally it rains all the way up until June. And so this year the dry season started, like in April. Anyways, that's about that. Let's see if we can see the moon just a little bit better. You can see it a little bit. It's behind that tree. I might try to move into a different location, but I don't. But if I move just a little bit over that way, I'm going to move right out of the Wi-Fi field. So I'm kind of worried about moving at all. Oh, in Southwest Texas, yeah. Well, I like fireworks. The dog doesn't like fireworks. Of course, the animals don't like fireworks. I like fireworks. My 2 favorite holidays are the 4th of July and New Year's. I'm gonna move locations and see if we can get a better look at that moon. From Southwest Texas, I have family that lives in Fort Worth area. Let's go around this way. Let's go move. I am going to. There's my garden. There's like slugs all over the place, so I don't want to step on any more slugs. But let's just change the camera angle. And I'm going to lock this down. Yeah, Fort Worth. They live in Fort Worth. They are nieces and nephews. My sister's, 2 of my sister's children, and they have one of them. They have a boy that's, I think, 2 or 3, and then they're going to be, in about 6 months, I think 5-6 months, they'll have some more kids coming. Kid anyway. Yeah. And I've never actually been to Texas. I haven't been east of Idaho. I'm not much of a traveler. I certainly don't like airplanes, but the last time I took an airplane ride, I went to Hawaii. That was fun. Spent a birthday in Hawaii, and so here's my garden. It's like a forest. It's squash and tomato plants. But we'll just go over here. And there's the moon. We got the moon up, and in about in another couple minutes, there's going to be, the sun should rise in just a couple minutes. But yeah. So Southwest Texas. Now, I had a friend who lived in Amarillo, Texas. Of course, he passed on a few years ago. But interesting person. A really fascinating person. He had like a, he was really he had Asperger's and he was very unique, and with his I guess they don't call it Asperger's anymore, do they? They call it it's all autistic spectrum. Hey, welcome, Julianne. Welcome. I think they call it all of the autistic spectrum disorder, is what they were. And so Bruce had invented his own language. Yeah, that's right. He had invented his. So you're Southwick in. You're in Southeast Texas. Okay. Yeah. And so Bruce, who was from Amarillo, was autistic, on the autistic spectrum disorder, and had created his own language. He was a poet writer. His poems were just really interesting. They, and he died a few years ago. He had like Parkinson's disease, and then he died young. He wasn't even, he was like barely 60 years old when he passed away. Different climate, yeah. Lucky Stone, yeah. I'm actually still on Tuesday, Mr. Stone. And then, Mr. Stone, when you come on my show here, I'm hoping an adapter. It hasn't come yet, but where it's going to like split the microphone and the headphone, and if that adapter works, then we'll have our interview outdoors, especially if it's a nice clear night and so forth. Yeah, he was a good. Bruce was just an interesting guy. I mean, it's just like he was like my first real encounter with a person who was on the autistic spectrum disorder. And I mean, I'm on the spectrum as well, but not as just a little ways in. And but he was just a fascinating character. And then so he sang in a monotone. He just loved to sing. And I would go to do karaoke with him. Let me see if I can get this up, zoomed in a bit, so you can see the moon. It's 95% full right now. I am my functionality. Okay, Kaylin. Kylan, yeah, thank you. To Summer and Kay before I go. Okay. He said you were saying hi to Summer and Kay. All right, Kaylin. But anyways, mine Lopez is, they call it audio processing disorder. And so when I was younger, I was nonverbal till the age of 3. But what that really meant was that oh, it's that Trans Am. Somebody with a Trans Am just went by. Or no, I know, that's right, it was a Trans Am. I've seen them before. me come by here. And so audio processing disorder is where a person is born where it's like your brain has to be taught how to hear. That's what it is. Your brain has to be taught. So you have like perfect hearing, but you have to learn how to hear, and you have to learn how to make sense of the sounds that you're getting. And so for people with audio processing disorder, the hardest thing, you have to learn how to hear, but it's also background noises are sometimes louder than the foreground noises. So if you're having a conversation with someone, their voice is oftentimes quieter than the background, so it makes going to like loud coffee shops and bars and things like that very uncomfortable, because you go into these places because you can't hear anything. And so then another friend who had with autism, it took me a long time to figure him out, because it would be like I'd have a conversation with him and he would be like, as soon as I asked him to repeat himself, because I couldn't hear him, and he talked in a low mumbling monotone voice, and I cannot make heads or tails of people who talk in monotone. I had a boss at the casino who talked in a monotone, and when she would be walking beside me giving me instructions, welcome Mama Sushi, she'd be walking, and she was talking in a monotone, and eventually I just had to say, hey, listen, I can't hear people who speak in monotone voices unless I can actually look at your lips so I can see what the fuck you're talking about. Sorry about my language, but that's kind of how frustrating it was to me when people are speaking in monotones, is that, and especially in quiet voices or whatever, quiet in there, and it's like I just don't know what the hell you're talking about. I can't hear a single word you're saying, and of course I would get in trouble for saying stuff like that. It's like, because well, how can we communicate with you if you can't hear us? Well, have you ever, it's like, okay, well, I'm sorry, I'm not like you. My brain is wired up differently than you are. And so that was always very frustrating dealing with people, because they expected you to be, because you can't always hear things. I mean, anyways, that was just me. So yeah, I wasn't really meaning to come on and talk about that, but I have been wanting to talk about audio processing disorder on this channel, because that's it's one of those things that affects you more when you're a kid than it does as an adult, because you learn a lot of tricks on how to understand and so forth. And so yeah, high functioning and yeah, so you might look, yeah, that's probably a good way to say it, is that a person with audio processing disorder is a person who is a high functioning autistic. It's an extremely high functioning, but the way that my learning counselor said it is that everybody who's autistic has audio processing disorder, but not everyone who has audio processing disorder is autistic. And so when I was tested a long time ago under those standards, they didn't say I was autistic, they just said it was this. But I have if it was probably under today's standards, it would probably, I would fall right into the range of being autistic. But I learned how to do a lot of things. I learned how to multitask. I couldn't do that when I was like, even at 18, I couldn't do it at 18. I learned how to do, but for me, I call multitasking doing a task and switching gears fast without getting upset. To me, that's what multitasking was to me, was doing a task in a linear order very fast and switching back and forth very, very fast. Anyways. So things when I was a kid that were hard for me was reading and so forth. But through the years, I learned what I learned. I learned how to do a lot of different things. But one of the things, the gifts that a lot of were from my research, that many people with audio processing disorder, or why don't we just call it audio processing? Well, what do we? It's not a disorder or dysfunction or whatever it is. The audio processing is that most people who have it end up as writers, because writing is the hardest skill they have to learn. Yes, exactly. And that's what I would tell people. And then when I was like working at the casino as in bartending, that's what my other coworkers said too, when they talked about when they said, well, you can't multitask, and then the response was, well, you can't either. You can't multitask either. And so, because it's just changing your focus back and forth really, really quick. Yeah, that's what, and that's but bartenders have to, and that was where I did have actually, when I was looking back at it, I would have these times where I would get tunnel vision, and I realize now that I was going into a state of sensory shutdown. I thought it was because of the migraines, that the migraines were causing. I would have these migraines at the same time, but I realize now that that's what was going on. I was going into a shutdown. Except that when you see like the classic kind of a autistic meltdown or shutdown thing, it's always accompanied by a lot of like emotional outbursts and everything like that. And I never had one of those emotional outbursts or anything. I did when I was a kid. When I was a kid, yeah, that happened a lot. And then through my 20s, those emotional outbursts were going on in my head. I was having these emotional outbursts, but I never vocalized them. I would just go on like I was a calm rock, and I would carry forward in whatever job I was doing. I would be carrying forward calm like a rock, but inside I was starting to shut down, or I would have like inside I was kind of screaming. It was just like I'd be talking to somebody, and inside my brain I would be saying, "Go away, please. Can you please go away? Go away. Just go away, please. Go away. Go away." And I was feeling very frantic, but maybe I should have just said, "Excuse me, I need to go." But it's kind of hard to tell that to a boss. It's hard to tell that to your parents or to family, that I am overwhelmed right now and I can't handle this conversation anymore. I can't handle being in your presence anymore. I just need to take some time for myself and to recharge. And really that was what was going on in my head. And I still get that way at times, but I just, because sometimes it just gets so overwhelming to be around people all the time. And right now it's just me, mom, and the dog, and that's it. It's just me, mom, and the dog. I wonder what that message said, but who knows? You know what? Let's see. Anyways, that's... Well, you know what, Mr. Brandon, I am quite a bit, probably, I'm getting pretty old now. I'm just explaining what audio processing disorder has been like for me. And it's different for other people. Yeah. So you get that with personal space and needing your personal space. Yeah. Oh, 95% full moon. 95% full moon. Anyways, I just wanted to share this with y'all, with all y'all. The moon rising. I had actually no plans or anything. Mr. Lopez, I'm in my late 50s. I'm in my late 50s. But yeah, I was born in the late. I was born at, let's see, just a few years before 19. Well, I was born in the 60s. Yeah. Lovely moon. It is a lovely moon. I'm liking this day. It's a little chilly today. Last night when I came out, it was a lot warmer at this time. And so tomorrow night, I guess I'm going to do this again. Can I do this again tomorrow night? I got writers group tomorrow night. I wonder what time the moon's going to rise tomorrow night. It sets at, tonight it sets at 2 o'clock, which means that I think it's going to already be risen. Oh, your ultrasound went really good. Good. So do you know the gender of your new arrival, or did you like not want to know that? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I would want to know in advance. But yeah, you would want to know in advance because you have to know how to plan. You have to know how to plan and get your room ready for what okay, when you'll know in about 2 weeks. Oh, that's good. It's good. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, one of my nieces that lives down in Texas, she is going to, I think she's having a girl this time. I think the gender reveal was like last month, I think it was, so last month. But yeah. Anyways. Oh boy, when I was a kid, I just loved, the stars are starting to come out. One of my first loves as a child was astronomy. And when I was I'd go to these OMSI camps for astronomy when I was in elementary school. So I was thinking about you, Mama Sushi, and I was thinking, you don't have to say this, but I keep getting this feeling like you're from like Gresham or someplace like that. You live over by in Gresham or like Hood River area. I know you don't have to say it, but oh, you don't live over there. Then the other thought was, well, I think, what if she lived over in Salem? You probably don't live in Salem either. If you're in Salem, like, we're almost like neighbors. But, oh, you live down there. You lived in Florence, and now you're in Salem. You know what, Mama Sushi? Mama Sushi, my favorite coffee is roasted in Silverton, and that Silverton coffee roasters is. It's been a while since I've been there to Silver Creek Falls. Not since I was like 87 or 88 was the last time I've been to Silverton. So yeah, we are. I've given enough information away that you probably know exactly where I live, and I don't need to really say where it is. But you worked at the falls for a couple of years, yeah. But yeah. I haven't been there for ages. I've been wanting to go to this place called the Valley of the Giants. And the Valley of the Giants is... Are you trying... No. You have been trying to figure that out? Well, I think I gave you enough hints. I gave you enough hints because... that I live near Pacific City is actually northwest of me, and Lincoln City is almost due west of me, and Salem is I live closer to McMinnville than to Salem. I live closer to Lincoln City than to Pacific City. Actually, Pacific City is pretty damn close too. And there's two casinos near. So there's a casino. There's Chinook Winds, which is in Lincoln City, and then there's the other casino, and that's right in my backyard. So that's it. I gave you all the hints you need to know. And so you don't need to say it on the line here, but because this is a real small community here, everybody knows who I am. Everybody knows who I am. Knows my family because my family my mother has lived in this area since like 1945, and my dad's relatives lived in this area since around the same time. Yes, it's Lincoln City is right on the coast. It is right on the coast, and yeah. That's right. Lincoln City's on the coast. But yeah. With that, I lived in McMinnville from 1988 to 2003, from Seattle from 2003 till 2011, and then I came back home. That's my story. But that's my story. Moon looks really brilliant. It's actually more. Too bad you guys couldn't see. So you lived around Bend and Utah and Idaho somewhat. Yeah. Well, you know what, Lucky Stone. When you come on, when we arrange the time for our show together, I'll tell you exactly where I live. Okay. There's nothing affordable on the Oregon coast. Let me go back to where, I don't know. If I move too much, let's see here. I'm gonna move the camera around to the other side. Hopefully I don't trip. There's nothing affordable on the Oregon coast. I want to live on the... What the hell did I just step on? Nothing. Okay. Geez, I thought I was going to like step into a hole or some shit like that. Yeah, Oregon coast. Okay. Florence has access to medical. It has a hospital in Florence. Lincoln City has a hospital. Newport has a hospital. Tillamook has a hospital. And Seaside has a hospital. For Seaside has the Sunset Highway, which is the straightest pass through the coastal mountains. All the other passes. Now, if you're if you live on Lincoln City and you have a serious emergency, you're going on a life flight. Yeah, and Florence wasn't too bad for rent. Yeah, because one of my neighbor's kids lives in Florence right now. He was working at that. He was working at what was that casino that was down there? I haven't actually been to that one. I kind of wanted to. When I was more flush with money, I would have liked to have gone to all the casinos in this area in Oregon. I like casinos. All right, let's see. What have we got? Go back to my chair. There's the moon out there. Yeah, Three Rivers. I think that's what it is. And then there's like one down in Canyonville. I had family that lived down there. There's one in Pendleton. And I think there's another one like in Warm Springs area. And I was trying to find out what was the wealthiest tribes in Oregon. I think the one in Warm Springs that has like I think that one is and then one down in Clamoth, though that's a wealthy, and I think there's like, yeah, I live, as I've mentioned many times, that I live really close, tribal areas. There's lots of tribal areas in Oregon. And yeah, I like the colors now. Well, there's a lot more stars out. Huh. Oh, you did? How was that? You went on a houseboat down the Klamath Falls? What was that like, Mama Sushi? Was it like a bumpy ride? It sucked. Yeah. I haven't been down. I was thinking, okay, that's right. Mama and I took a trip to Florence, I think in 21. Then the last time I went to Florence before that was when I was with that lady that I proposed to. Yeah, it was like 95. Like this long break between times of going to Florence. Because she was doing an intern down in Florence. She had majored in journalism, and then we were together for like 6 months or something like that. But man, that was like because I'm not really sure I believe in that whole, whole thing about twin flames and all that, but that that relationship I had with her was, connection to her was something else. The whole twin flames mythology, I don't know. Because I just don't think that there's just one. I don't think there's just one soulmate for a person. I think people can have lots of different soulmates. That's what I believe anyways. I know other people believe other things. But that twin flame thing. Oh, I know what, she got married. She got married to, well, that situation was like this. She was with this dude. We all went to the same college. I used to drink with her. Her husband is one of my old drinking buddies from before I went into the fraternity, or maybe after I went into the fraternity when I was I graduated from Winfield College in McMinnville, Oregon, and we were all students there. She was younger. I think he was a couple years younger, and I started to that school later. So I started there when I was almost 21 years of age when I started going to college there. And then, so her husband, I knew her husband, and I didn't, and he's decent. He was a decent guy. He was a decent guy. He was a good guy. He was a good guy. But I think she teaches school. I believe they're in like northern Washington someplace. So she teaches maybe in the Seattle Public School District, but it may be in like another one that's like a little bit north of the Seattle Public School. It might be like in Everett or Marysville or someplace like that. I'm not really. I can't quite remember because it's been a while. But it's like someplace up there near Everett. One of those school districts up there. She teaches school, and so she's probably had enough years in. So she's probably about ready to retire. They had like 2 or 3 children, and their children are. I think their children are probably all grown up. I think they're all grown up now. I mean, because like when I was with her, someone said that that we would have had 2 children, we would have had 2 boys, and she had 2 boys. So that was what there was like a kind of a psychic intuitive said to me. It was one of my friends, and we had gone on that. So they said we would have had 2 boys, but she did have 2 boys. She had 2 boys with that other guy, and I could feel. I kind of knew what she was thinking. It was a really intense relationship. It was a really intense. And so there was just a lot of connectivity there. And so when she decided that she wanted to marry the other guy instead, because he also had proposed to her too around the same time that I had, I guess. Maybe, he'd already, and and I think that. Yeah, I think that was what it was, something like that. There were 2 guys that were interested in her, and we both had strong spiritual connections together with her. So it was like, and so that was kind of the situation. That was the situation, and yeah. I met her parents, but see, at that time I was studying to be a preacher. I was thinking about it being It was a tough place, yes. Yes, it was a tough place. She was in this position of, she just didn't know how to choose. Ultimately, what she chose is that she couldn't see herself as the wife of a preacher. And that was really the thing was she just couldn't see that because but I ended up not becoming a preacher. I didn't go down that route, but that was where I was headed. I was headed down that route, but yeah, but that was kind of what it was ultimately. Just couldn't imagine that life as being a preacher's wife or the wife of a preacher, and I wonder what that kind of life would have been like for me. But the stumbling blocks for me for becoming a preacher is that it was the whole it was that those spiritual experiences that I had. And I talked a little bit about when Victor Truthwave was on my channel, of those experiences that I had when I was baptized, and those experiences I had when I was confirmed, and then when I had a what they call them transpersonal experiences. The transpersonal experiences I had and the knowledge that I got from them didn't quite line up with Christian theology, with it didn't quite line up. And ultimately I felt like if I were to become a Lutheran pastor, or at that time, a little bit later on, it would have been a Catholic deacon, a married, I was thinking of wanting to be a little bit, when I became Catholic, and a little bit less than being a priest, but being a deacon or something like that. Ultimately, it was that I just couldn't square what I knew in my heart to be true with Christian theology. And that's where I sort of parted with that idea. I parted with that idea of making church my career. And that's that. And that was that, because I didn't, now as far as priesthood and becoming a Catholic priest, I didn't want to close that door. I didn't want to close that door to marriage. I didn't want to do that. And that was a door that I just couldn't close. And man, granted, I never did get married. I never did, but so yeah, I guess I could have gone into done the celibate life, but I had a lot, anyways. I just couldn't close that door, and I wanted to leave that door open, and that door is still open for me. It's still open. Maybe it seemed like a distant opening, but it's still open. But the whole thing of becoming a pastor is not, that door is not open anymore. At least not, because I just cannot, as I said, I just can't square it all together. And so I just didn't want to be living a lie. And so there was one of my classmates from Linfield who was also on that Israel trip. And he was becoming a pastor. He was becoming some kind of a fundamentalist in some fundamentalist realm, but he really wanted to convert to Judaism. But he couldn't quite bring himself around to doing it. And I miss him. I haven't seen him in years. But I wish he's well, but I've heard things that that he's not doing that good. And a lot of it was, yeah. No, and you're right, and it does happen, and that happens all the time. You're right, it does happen. It happens all the time, and usually, generally, what happens in those cases is that they begin studying Scripture, and when they go beyond just the English translations, and they go into the Hebrew, they go into the Greek, they go into the academic study of Bible, and then and they go into the history of the church, they go into the history of the early church, they go into the language studies, and then that's when they end up derailed. A lot of times they end up. Now some of them just stay in there till they retire. And then when they retire, they come out, and they're essentially either Christian. They're just Christian in name only. I guess that's probably what would be the best description of where I am at in my Christianity, is Christian in name only, or what and when I was younger, they would have called that a cultural Christianity. Cultural Christianity is what that was called, was cultural Christianity. You were born into this religion and you knew all of the right things to do, but inside, like my grandmother, my mother's mother, it was like, okay, she was born in the Congregationalist church, and when she came out to a certain age, she never went back to church ever again, and except maybe with Mama sometimes, and with us at the Lutheran church when I was a kid, and all of that. But my dad grew up in the Lutheran church, and I wasn't sure. I mean, I think he was as close to an atheist as you could possibly get. You know, I don't know. I never got the sense that he had any of that. So, you know, when I've had like conversations with people about religious trauma, I can say I didn't have any religious trauma coming from my folks at all, because of that dynamic that you have a parent that's like an agnostic, but then if you've ever been to a Lutheran church, especially the ELCA, you might know exactly what I'm talking about, and how because the ELCA is a lot more progressive. It's right up there with the Episcopalian church. The Episcopalian church, which is fairly progressive, and having women in ministry and things like that, and not being inclusive versus exclusive. And the branch of the Lutheran church that I grew up in was inclusive, and there wasn't a sense of they didn't put doors up to exclude people from either ministry, or, I mean, within reason. Of course, there is a within reason about that. But yeah. Anyways, but that's kind of my story a little bit. I've been on an hour. I wasn't expecting to talk on here for an hour. You know, I'm getting better at this, Mama Sushi. I feel like I'm getting better at talking for an hour about about not much. Anyways, I'm going to go and do a Tools of Fortune live a little bit later, probably after midnight sometime. And yeah, anyway, I'm just still training. I'm a psychic in training. Put it that way. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to say good night to you all, and thank you. Thank you for hanging out with me, Mama Sushi, and Mr. Lopez, and Mr. Stone. And Mr. Stone, I do look forward to having you on my channel here. We'll set up a time soon, from like 2 weeks from now. Maybe almost 2 weeks. 10 days. All right, good night. And good night, everyone. And thank you for your support. Thank you, Julianne. And I'm gonna go plug this phone in, and then get ready for my next live stream tonight on my other channel, Tools of Fortune. And hopefully, I'll have some people come in that want to have some questions for me, rather than have a whole bunch of trolls coming in. Anyways, that's all I got. And let's take a look at the moon one more time. Take a look at the moon up there, and there it is, all bright in the sky. Moonrise, moonrise. Good night, good night. We'll see you tomorrow night after dark. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Good night. Bye-bye.